And we're live.
Hey! You want me to kick it off, or do you want to do the honors?
Hit it, Max. It's all you, bro.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to IGN's News, Games, and More. It is the week daily show where we discuss all of those things and more. We do even do more of more. And it's just supposed to be a bunch of people hanging out, having a good time, discussing the day's news. My name is Max Scoville, and I'm joined by a bunch of my wonderful colleagues. Seth Macy, coming all the way from the Arctics of Maine.
The subarctic, technically.
Some of the ice melted. Jonathan Dornbush, coming from a room full of knives and TIE fighters.
Oh, hello.
Hey. And Destin Legary, who is going to be he's really just juggling a lot of plates this today. He's going to be doing all of the technical directing stuff that he normally does, but he's also going to be holding a conversation at the same time, which is kind of walking and chewing gum.
It's going to be great. I can do stuff like this that might look bad or ruin everything. See?
Whoa.
There's our lower thirds I built 2 seconds before the show.
Get good, Destin. It's all like a really, really nerve-wracking
Almost
video.
nailed it.
There it is. That looks great. That's all of our names.
Well,
if you were
cool.
confused. So today we're going to be talking about a handful of things. Yesterday, the big, huge landmark watershed news was that Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be getting released as a Snyder Cut on HBO Max, and some of the cast members actually chimed in on that. We can discuss that, and hopefully not piss off as many people as we did yesterday when we discussed that film. In I guess less contentious news, there's also some stuff about Ghost of Tsushima. Jonathan, you got to talk to one of the sort of main people behind that. And then, of course, there's possibility that Scott Pilgrim game might be coming back. Let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. Let's kick it off. Jonathan, can you give us a little rundown of sort of what you found out about the difficulty in that game?
For sure. So we talked to director and art director Jason Connell on the game, and then the game director Nate Fox also spoke to a few other outlets. So we compiled a bunch of combat news that we got from these interviews, and basically we've learned in the state of play there was a sort of samurai showdown moment, and Jin Sakai, the character you play as, was kind of like one-hit killing everyone. And they talked about how, maybe was there a little bit of music going? Yeah.
Get it together, Legary.
It's fine. The music's probably better than what I'm saying. But anyway, so you could see Jin taking on all of these opponents. Actually, he was one-hit killing everyone, and I saw some people going like, is the combat going to be easy? Is it just one-hit kills? Is Jin just this unstoppable force? And Jason Connell, the creative director, basically told me that was a perfect play, essentially, that they captured from someone on the team, and they were actually a little worried that it was too perfect, because he was doing perfect parries, perfect evades, and deflecting arrows, like some high-level stuff they were saying. But essentially, they did promise that the combat is going to be really challenging. Only a couple of hits we got Jin. They wanted to feel really good and really true to like what sword combat would be like. So it will be, a couple hits will take out Jin pretty easily. But for those looking for like even more of a challenge, there are going to be these essentially like expert swordsmen in the environment that you'll be able to find in battle, and they're going to be these really cinematic battles. Nate Fox spoke to IGN Nordic about this, and actually they're going to be like very cinematic, like Kurosawa film sword fights that you would expect, and they're going to really challenge you to like pay attention to. They're going to like puzzle-like battles with getting a handle on your opponent's tells and stuff like that.
So samurai Punch-Out, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
So to recap,
probably less racist than the original Punch-Out, but
Yeah, and to recap, going to be hard as hell, really challenging if you want it to be, and I think we're already all pretty hyped for Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Tsushima. I literally made the lower third making a joke about it, but I say ghosts all the time. I really got to break that habit, but I am absolutely stoked for this game.
Hell yeah. This is like, went from my curiosity to probably my most anticipated game until like fall. Like I cannot wait for this game to come out.
So real quick, the gameplay, like internally, we're doing our cutouts or whatever for the YouTube channel. We're all kind of talking about it. Did anybody else get UI-wise a little bit of an Assassin's Creed Ubisoft vibe, but like with this huge, seemingly open world? Like, how did you feel about it, Dornell, your first time experiencing gameplay in action?
Yeah, there's definitely a little little bit of assassination to it. I mean, there's a point in the Ghost gameplay where it literally just says assassinate as you leap down to sort of do a jumping assassination. So there definitely seems to be some Assassin's Creed DNA in there. But Sucker Punch, has had really their own unique style when it's come to combat and open world exploration and stuff like that, that they've been doing on their own aside from AC. So I think this is going to take what we've all learned from this last generation of open world games and kind of meld the best bits of it, because I love Assassin's Creed games, but it's not always the most fun worlds to explore. Like, there have been down notes in that universe, so I think they're going to get a pretty good balance here.
Yeah, personally, I'm incredibly happy to be playing another samurai game. I love Sekiro, even though it was incredibly challenging, and I'm excited to just explore this because just the style looks so different, and they did a lot of stuff. Like, they took photo mode, and the fact that you can play in grayscale and everything is super exciting. Seth, so you're pretty stoked also?
Oh yeah, I watched that reveal, that state of play, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm 100% into this game. It looks like I think I said it before. It looks like the Tenchu Stealth Assassins for the modern era, which was a game I very much enjoyed on the PlayStation 1. Still holds up, actually.
And Max, you hate it, right?
I can't stand the look of the thing. No. So I'm like a really tough sell on samurai stuff, because I feel like so often, and I gave Sekiro a shot. Sekiro is definitely cool, but I think it appealed to me less than something like Bloodborne would. And it's also so like heavily rhythm focused. But I feel like so often with samurai stuff, it just ebbs into sort of like Asian fantasy. Like, you wind up fighting like dragons and kappas and like witches and tengus and things like that, and that's cool. But it's like, I kind of love that this is just like a straight samurai game, and it's not hyper stylized. And it's also not too super hung up on being like boringly historically pedantic. Like, it's I don't know how historically accurate it is. It still looks cool. You can change your costumes and have video gamey abilities. But it seems like just a good balance of what makes this stuff work. As far as the sort of the HUD goes, I love how lean it is, which I feel like is something I have an issue with Assassin's Creed games, because they'll have this incredible, beautiful world, and then there's just like sort of too much stuff happening to take you out of it,
Mm-hmm.
Like too many icons on people's heads.
Thinking on it more, the Assassin's Creed correlation that, we all kind of got the vibe of, and I see chat sort of commenting about, I sort of got an Assassin's Creed vibe. I don't have a problem with that. I've actually always wanted an Assassin's Creed game sort of like this, and I'm kind of getting it. So kudos to Sucker Punch for making my dreams come true.
There was I did an interview with the creative director, what's Ashraf Ismail, who's working on the new one. Yeah, he's great. But I was talking to him about Origins, and one of the things he said that really stuck with me was how when sort of figuring out how to turn players loose in the world, like the operative word is always exploration. And he's like, the exploration is pointless unless there's discovery at the end of it. And it was a really interesting idea of sort of the like carrot and horse of, it's cool if there's a huge open world to poke around in and look for stuff. But if there's nothing at the end of your little, your adventures, if there's nothing to actually work towards, if there's no sense of discovery, if there's nothing behind the waterfall, it's a space, which this game feels like it's really hammering on that kind of concept to be like, hey, we want people to be pulled into the world rather than just sort of meandering around.
Yeah, and you know what? To that point, like the wind being your directional guide is a really smart way of UI designing the world to sort of guide you. I remember the first time I really admired that was with Dead Space 1, where his outfit was basically his life system and everything. So, yeah, I think it's when you don't notice touches like that a game really, really shines through as something sort of special. So hopefully Ghost, dang it, manages to live up to
just
that
one ghost. Otherwise, it'd be too spooky.
I'll get there, everybody.
The multiple ghosts come in the DLC.
So let's see. Do we want to talk about? You want to talk about the Snyder Cut stuff?
Hell yeah, let's talk about the Snyder Cut stuff because I'm actually excited about it.
Okay, go nuts. Go.
To each his own.
So I think, as I queue up this B-roll of Cyborg, I think it's Cyborg. You know,
Huge fan.
I couldn't tell. It was a free stream. Anyway,
I know.
You know what? I think it's kind of cool that we're going to get to see another way that the film could have been created, right? We're going to be able to see. Did I like the film initially? Not so much, but I'm down to watch it again to see what this other creator is going to be able to build and show to fans of the series. Maybe it ends up being a disaster, but it's just like another piece of content that we get to consume with our favorite heroes and just sort of see what could have been. And I like sort of getting a peek at that. What do you guys think about that sort of perspective on the situation?
I want to be clear here. Like, I feel like people got, like, we talked about it yesterday, and I think the other panelists who were on the show were, I don't want to throw my coworkers under the bus, but we're like less than, excited about it. And there's there is the weird complication that there was a hardcore fan base like clamoring for this. And then it's hard to be like, was this something WB was like, we should do this, or something they're like, people demand that we do this, which is like a weird, it gets lost in the irony of like, is this letting a creator, deliver his actual vision, or is this kowtowing to demands of a rabid fan base, which is another issue entirely. That being said, I love the idea of seeing a different version of a film. I think that's fascinating. I love director's cuts. I love finding about unproduced screenplays and deleted scenes and ways that things could have happened. That is the elseworlds of filmmaking, as it were. I don't want to be negative on it. Like, it's just,
don't know what you got.
Especially as something that I think, it's very publicly Zack Snyder stepped down during the production of this, and due to obviously, awful tragedy. So there were personal circumstances beyond that, but letting him turn to the thing that he obviously was investing pretty heavily in, because he's been part of it since Man of Steel and through Batman v Superman. Like, regardless of how you feel about those films, letting him then go back and jump into all of this, and they're allegedly, due to THR reports we've heard, putting upwards of into the production to finish all of this. So it's not in a purely finished state right now and just sitting there fully done. There's still some work that needs to be done to get it close to his vision. It's a really fascinating, like you've been saying, just something we don't really see every day. Like, we do see director's cuts, but this is almost a redefinition of what the movie was, what it was in theaters versus what we're going to get here with the Snyder Cut. It's a really interesting, once in a generation of movie telling thing that we're seeing here.
Sort of tweaking the perception a little bit, or at least the stance about the way you phrased it, Max. I almost wonder if the studio said, hey, there's a big demand for this alternate cut of this movie, right? Why not? Like, it seems like we have a huge audience that has a vested interest in watching it. They're going to use HBO, right? And they're either doing episodic or the full thing. They haven't decided yet. Is that correct?
They haven't decided. Yeah. And it's HBO Max in 2021, which maybe, Dustin, as you're alluding to, is a very smart business move to be making.
Yeah. So, like, I get where they're coming from that way. So it's, even if it is business focused, we're kind of getting what I consider to be a good thing, because we do get another peek at this. And look at the actors in this film. I don't think there is a single miscast role in this movie. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman is awesome. I think Ben Affleck did a really good Batman. That Aquaman guy I really like. Like, I think
Aquaman guy.
What's his name? Momoa. Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa. I blanked for a second. But like, just everybody in here, I actually really like all the actors too. Yes, even Superman. And I don't know if there was a way that.
Hey man, I like all the actors that are in Cats 2019, but that doesn't make it worthy of a revisit.
Yeah, so I'm wondering.
I want that butthole cut. Release the butthole cut. Show me
Release the butthole cut. That's what fans are demanding: a 4-hour episodic super butthole cut of Cats, not of Justice League.
I'm really going to be interested to see the recut, compare it to the original, and see the edits that had to be made. Try and think about like why they had to make those edits. Listen to the commentary from the directors about like the challenges with filming and how the film ended up launching the way that it did. And I'm excited for that. I like hearing about the challenges of big creative projects like this, especially something that's dealing with like licensed characters like Wonder Woman, Batman, Cyborg, and throwing them all together in a movie. And DC, like what's the last Joker was a pretty interesting DC title, right? Where we were able to explore this lore of a character. So they're getting better, I think, about how they're telling stories. I don't know.
So that's what I would say is that I would say that DC as a publisher, as a comic book label, does better at graphic novels. I mean, obviously the ongoing interconnected stuff is great too, but I think they like hand over fist are so much better at Marvel as having standalone stories. There's like a wonderful library of DC titles like Dark Knight Returns, Year One, Superman of Tomorrow, like A Man for All Seasons. Like, I get it. Like there's so many different standalone like short run comics that could be turned really well into movies, whereas like trying to follow Marvel's lead and create an interstitched universe is really weird when you've got you've got like tonal inconsistencies. Like I feel like there's a lot of like Marvel, that's always been like a much more, I guess, carefully interwoven ecosystem for the most part. And there's still like, weird disparities, but like it's people have like different expectations from, an underwater god who speaks to fish, or a cyborg, or a rich guy whose parents were murdered in front of him. Like it's sort of it's odd, but I like that with stuff that they've done with like Shazam and Wonder Woman and Joker were all standalone movies, and like Birds of Prey was like Birds of Prey basically did what Deadpool did with the X-Men franchise, where they were like, let's acknowledge it sort of, but also not rely on it because it's complicated. And like, let's just make a movie that exists on its own really well. And I know a lot of people, like a lot of DC fans really don't like the more recent stuff. They don't like Shazam because it's kids stuff, but like, that's what Shazam is. And that exists in that universe. And I thought they nailed it in terms of, Anyway,
absolutely agree. I'm excited. Our description is also from yesterday. My bad. So
the thing that happened today is we did get some of the cast reacting. Henry Cavill, Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, and Jason Momoa all posted on their various Instagrams about how happy they were regarding the announcement. Cavill provided the longest message, and he referenced the occasional volatile online arguments about the cut, saying, "Be nice to each other," while congratulating Snyder himself. Listen to Superman, please. Ladies and gents, it finally happened. The Snyder Cut will be out next year. Now, I know there have been two camps over the whole Snyder thing. Whether it will ever happen for a while, just remember, we all get to have more Justice League, so now it's a win-win. So be nice to each other. Big congratulations, Mr. Snyder. Fisher kept it simple, referencing the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut movement by saying, "For those who fought, for those who believe, thank you." And then Jason Momoa said, "Finally, it's happening. You're welcome. Justice served. All my aloha to everyone who made this happen. All the fans, we love you." And that's entirely lowercase. With
You know what?
I love
if it makes people happy, great. That's all I got to say.
That's exactly it. Like, I don't know. I hope that I'm glad that Snyder Cuts are getting what they wanted. That rules.
All those Snyder heads finally getting what they're after.
I also wonder how long WB was planning this, because they've had HBO Max in their back pocket. This kind of feels like, somewhere between, their Mandalorian or their Clone Wars season 7 or whatever, where it's like, oh, you have a thing that was canceled that you've wanted. Oh, here it is. You wanted a Boba Fett movie. Here's here's like a little reason for you to go sign up for a new service.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it from entirely the business point of view. It's like, I get why they wouldn't want to announce this when they first confirmed HBO Max, because they had everything else to talk about. So this gets to be its own thing, standalone, and get them all this attention. And then launching it, 8 months after HBO Max launches, when probably subscriptions start to subside a bit, people aren't as invested in it, suddenly will inject a lot more interest back into this service, which they're going to want next year. So, like, from a business perspective, it makes total sense the way they've been rolling it out.
Also, if they roll it out as a 6-episode series, they get to charge for like 2 months rather than like 1 month thing, and then you binge it. Like if they do it, I don't know. Not to be cynical, I'm trying to be positive, but
That's how they get you. Hey, let's be cynical about Batwoman.
Oh,
We could
okay.
do that. Do we have Batwoman news?
Oh, I was
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
that's
be roll
right.
for Batwoman.
Yeah, so yeah, this is Ruby Rose left Batwoman because of long hours. Yeah, she was on the
The CW Batwoman series that focuses on her character. They mentioned Bruce Wayne. I believe Bruce Wayne is now a character in the CW universe of things. And I don't know. Is season 2 shot, Dorno? Do you know?
No, season 2 hasn't been shot. Most of the Arrowverse shows are actually delayed a bit in production because of COVID. Most of them had their release dates pushed to next year, so they haven't filmed yet. But the show was picked up early because of how well it was doing, and it was going to be for the next like Arrowverse crossover. They were only going to do the crossover between Batwoman and the new Lois and Clark show that's coming out. But so obviously with Ruby Rose leaving, that means production on that, they're going to have to find a brand new star for all of this. And apparently when it was initially revealed, it was positioned as a like amicable split that they just decided to go their own ways between her and the crew. But we got reports from Variety and TV Line that essentially there was allegedly friction on set because Ruby Rose was allegedly unhappy with the long hours that were required for a 20-episode season of a TV show. And she wasn't happy working on the show, so that, according to one source, didn't make her the most fun to work with either. So everyone just kind of decided maybe it's better if we split.
I can't really blame her. Back in August 2018, she quit Twitter over the backlash of her getting even cast, which that's not fun. And then she proceeded to have to get emergency surgery in late 2019 because she herniated 2 discs on her neck and basically was facing paralysis. So she's kind of getting at both ends, where they're like literally kind of kicking her ass to make this show, and then the reaction to it is like negative. I don't know. Like what's like, I feel like that can't pay enough for how much that is.
Well, and especially when it's like she's an actress who primarily has been involved in films, and like her biggest role on TV before this was Orange is the New Black, and that was in a few episodes across 2 seasons. So that wasn't nearly the commitment that one of these shows are. And committing to that long of a shoot in a city you don't normally live in, it is a lot to ask, and it isn't for everyone. And it seems like it just is one of these where it wasn't a great fit for her in what she was looking to do for work.
How many hours are we talking here?
16.
That's what I want to know. 16 a day?
That's what she was saying.
That's long.
That's what she said, I believe. Is that correct, Dorno?
That's
I don't want
actually-
to misquote.
I forget that exact number. I'd have to look it up. But I do know that like there have been reports of the long hours a lot of those CW shows have had to work. I think there were reports a few seasons back when Riverdale was just starting out that they, would be doing shoots pretty often until like 3 or 4 in the morning to get the right lighting and whatnot. So yeah, like they for crazy amount of hours, and depending on how those shows work, you kind of just go with it because it's how it's expected sometimes. So
right. Yeah, my major criticism from watching this clip right here is that Army guy has his top button done up, and that's not how it works. You don't button that top button, but that's neither here nor there.
I'll say
they need to hire you as a consultant.
I mean, it's pretty simple. All that stuff is public record, folks. You can just look it right up, all the regulations. But anyway,
on sort of a simple note, like, okay, it wasn't for her. She's exiting. I think they're going to be in okay shape once they start filming for season 2. And I think they're probably going to move forward. I think this is the first CW show where they're going to recast the lead, though. Am I correct in that?
It's the first, yeah, at least first Arrowverse show for sure. There might have been another CW show, I can't remember, though I've watched many of them. But yeah, I think this is the first Arrowverse show that's had the lead recast.
I hope they don't abandon the character like after season 2 if it gets like just too difficult to shoot for the studio, because I think she's really, really cool and has some really, really good stories to tell. And I'm a sucker for the CW shows. I watched too much Arrow. I think I got through like season 3 of The Flash. Do you guys have any Arrowverse or any CW guilty pleasures? Smallville season 1, definitely.
All 10 seasons. What are you talking about?
Yeah. The Lex
I never
Luthor
watched
relationship was so good in Smallville.
He was a really
I
good
didn't
Lex. Yeah.
Yeah.
watch any of
I
the
hope they,
Arrowverse shows.
I hope that they just plan 9 her. Like, I hope that they recast her, but they have somebody just like holding the cape like this the whole time, and it's like, it is me, Batwoman. I have returned, and you don't see her face. Then she just hides in the shadows like Batman.
You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna do like some parallel dimension thing, because that would be a really easy way to like write her out in a way that sort of would make sense. And they just had that huge, crazy crossover, didn't they?
Yeah, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Where
Yeah,
they,
and that-
I mean, that did kind of condense all of the universes, but it's easy to say like, there's another one, and someone came from there.
Oh, there's a blip in Universe 9, or I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they can write around that.
It's all made up. You just make it up. You make up a new story, and then it's not real. Speaking of not real, let's talk about what's going on over with those the Spider-Man movies that don't have Spider-Man in them. Everyone's favorites. Mark Guggenheim, one of the architects of the CW's Arrowverse, will be scripting Jackpot for Sony Pictures based on the Marvel Comics title, according to Deadline. Do you guys know Jackpot?
Nope.
I don't at all. No.
Here's a quick recap on IGN.com that I was given B-roll for.
So yeah, Jackpot followed scientist Sarah Ehret, who gained superpowers through a virus that altered her DNA.
She was in the
super
news.
strength.
That's Jackpot,
becomes-
one of the city's new heroes.
Every time she punches somebody, she goes,
Sorry,
Jackpot!
Max. I couldn't resist.
Have I? I mean, there's a lot of deep cut heroes in the Marvel universe, but I feel like maybe Sony's just trying to really they're really digging in the couch cushions for spare change right now.
Yeah.
This is
What's
so-
her
it's weird.
superpower?
She had a virus altered her DNA and gave her super strength, so she becomes a crime-fighting mom who had to balance the duties of both family and superheroism, which is
Well, I like that, actually.
that's a cool angle, I guess, but it's also like
I like the idea of her going out to fight crime, but she's got a piece of toast in her mouth because she was having breakfast and her coffee with the kids. But now she's got a split, and she's got to hit the jackpot.
nice.
The trailer writes itself.
This is fun. Fans have long speculated that Jackpot, who sported long red hair and used the expression "tiger," was actually Peter Parker's beloved Mary Jane Watson, but it was not. It was not. So don't get excited. Yeah. I'm more excited about the Kraven the Hunter spinoff they're working on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too.
You guys, Kraven's great.
Yeah.
Craven's a character they can actually do some work with. Jackpot's like a joke character, right? Like it seems like she was a free comic book day character that they tried to evolve a little bit more, if I'm being mean about it. But Kraven
Was she
has
ever
long
a Wizard
history.
magazine Mort of the Month?
She might have been.
Here's Kraven.
Thank you,
for
Seth,
Yeah, right now-
for invoking the Mort. So Wizard Magazine used to have this thing called Mort of the Month. I don't know why they named it that, but it was like they would pick really weird deep cut heroes or like villains or characters from old comics, and they would just kind of like basically review them in terms of how much they sucked. And it would be, it'd be like Condiment King or like, like the Polka Dot Man or so, stuff like that appeared in one issue of Batman in 1957.
Real quick, Luke Bat in chat says she was literally a character created to make fans think MJ had powers now. Like that was her purpose.
wow.
She was a misdirect.
That was her original name, actually. The Misdirect. But it was MS period direct.
Ooh.
That sounds like a better movie than this one.
Hey, if
Great.
anybody out there wants to option this script, just give me a call.
I'm going to talk about this again. I want Kraven the Hunter that is takes cues from Tiger King. I want them to do like a weird, like horny, drugged out Kraven the Hunter where he's shooting a reality show in his garage and he's like, I have all of these tigers and lions and I hunt them for sport. And then like one of them bites him and he's like, I have to get fake leg now and I will kill the spider.
Real quick.
Oh God, that's gonna be.
If you want to contact Seth Macy, here's his lower third again at Seth Macy.
Hit me up.
Go follow Seth
Holla
Macy.
at
He's
your
great.
boy. No, you're great.
Aw. Okay, so I guess since we're just talking about things coming back and getting re-released or what have you, the Scott Pilgrim game that was published alongside the Edgar Wright movie a million years ago could be getting I don't know if it counts as a re-release because they took it off the PSN and Xbox store. Like they basically deleted it, and now they're like, maybe it will come back. But basically, let's see. The Academy held a rewatch of Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim versus the World adaptation, and Brian Lee O'Malley, the comic book creator, tuned in. And during the movie, he tweeted that Ubisoft should bring back the Scott Pilgrim game because it was delisted back in 2014, and nobody was sure why that got taken down, but probably some kind of licensing issues. And then they weren't tagged in the tweet, but Ubisoft responded to O'Malley's call with the emoji that looks like this. So maybe we'll get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a weird.
I didn't get a chance to play this.
It's fine.
It's a really fun beat 'em up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beat 'em up.
Yeah, no, it's not like the best licensed game of all time. It's fun beat 'em up to pass the time, and it's got like a really, really great soundtrack. It's just one of those weird like oddities where it just disappeared, and everyone who was a fan of it was like, well, I guess it won't come to the next of consoles. So it's kind of been one of those like, it would have been a great re-release a year or two ago, but it seems like an odd time for it now. But I'll take it. I'll play through it again.
Well, I think they should release the Snyder cut of Scott Pilgrim the game.
I think that's the thing that I want to see is if Zack Snyder is going to be recutting Justice League, I want him to go in and recut other movies. I want like Zack Snyder's Groundhog Day. I want
No, he can only
Zack Snyder's Godfather 2.
He can only recut bad movies. Man, I didn't realize how many like actors and actresses in this went on to do other things later. It's been so long since I've watched Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, you should absolutely remedy that and watch Scott Pilgrim tonight. The movie's great. I love that movie.
I think it's a good movie based on a comic that I hate.
It's a very fun movie. I never had any experience with a comic until after I watched the movie, and I only got the comics because I watched the movie, and I was like, I sure do like this movie.
Yeah.
Max, what do you like? What's your favorite thing?
God, what do I like? That's a great question. I don't know. Like,
you're literally in a Star Wars cave you built in your house. Come on,
yeah, I like Star Wars, but apparently you can't even say that anymore. So you know,
you could
I like building model kits.
You can like things other people don't like. It's fine.
I was just thinking. I wish that we'd gotten if all the sort of same energy and like weirdness that went into Scott Pilgrim got put into a Dragon Ball movie, not like Dragon Ball Z, but like Kid Dragon Ball. That would have been really interesting. This like weird live action like comedy like cartoon, you know, like I'm not saying we should make a live action Dragon Ball movie again because that didn't go very well, but
I forgot that was even a thing that existed, actually.
That's one of those ones where like it's so bad. I've seen that movie, I think more than once, and I can't even conjure up imagery from it, like brief glimmers, but like it's like, I think it's what it's like when you show dogs the TV, you know, like they like sort of see it and they're like, well, all right, whatever. And they just walk out of the room. But like, it's that and Ninja Turtles 3 are those movies that I'm like, I know I've seen it.
Oh God.
It's just, it didn't even register. It didn't even stick into my brain.
Wow. Ninja Turtles 3 is not a good film. In case you didn't know that already.
But it's not even like fun bad. It's like a weird, it's almost like that film got canceled because of rain, but we still saw it. You know? Like it's just... okay, so what else do we have to talk about? We talked about the Spider-Man. Okay, this is fun. There was a story going around that said that scientists from NASA or something figured out that, or they think that there's a separate universe where time goes backwards. And I don't know, this strikes me as one of those science stories that we grossly blow out of proportion, but people get excited about it nonetheless.
I read this and it was actually very interesting. It's not blown out of proportion. They literally think there's a parallel universe. It was really,
what do you mean?
Well, it has to do with. I mean, Seth, did you write it? Like, who was our lead on it?
I did not write this. No.
I can speak to it. Sorry. So we've been covering science stuff more and more. This was something that actually our movies editor Jim Vejvoda brought to our attention because he saw it pop it up. But scientists in detection experiments there, and they detected essentially like high energy part out of Antarctica, which is contrary to how they're supposed to be behaving. Since these particles are only supposed to be detected when they're coming down from space. So they essentially believe there's some sort of like, inverse parallel universe as a result of that. But it's like actual stuff they found there that they're researching right now. And they think it could have been a result of the Big Bang from 13 billion years ago, where it has just formed our universe, but also this parallel one.
So you've done more reading than I have, apparently. I was a little confused by the article. So does this mean there's like a universe where, my dad loves me or I'm happy?
Yes. Yep.
No.
Oh, man.
If I figured out how to get into this universe, could I do it all over again? Could I just go back and then go forward again?
You restart. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would, if you go into that universe, it Benjamin Buttons you. So if you just step back into our universe, you can, continue forward as you would expect to, pretty much.
Except you turn to dust instantly, like at the end of The Last Crusade. Sorry.
Maybe it's because I
Spoilers.
just watched Back to the Future, but maybe this is like time travel, like something they'll figure out later. But
it's this dork. Like you could make like a video game where you manage to tap into this universe and suddenly everything goes backwards, and also it's Braid. You just go. It's just rewind.
Or Blinks the Cat.
Sure. I mean, any video, all the video games do that. They love
all the time travel things.
Yeah.
So chat. Forchi also
what do they
pointed
want?
out that they have different rules of physics there. Just as a fun fact from chat.
How do they know? What do they like? What they call someone over there and they're talking backwards on the phone? Like what?
Yeah,
I don't know. Are they just describing Australia, a place where things go backwards and it's upside down? Like you flush the toilet, it goes the other direction. PlayStation games cost $200. Like I don't. Okay, so Gran Turismo 7 isn't official.
Hell yeah! Oh,
but it will. I mean, it probably will happen because if you make six things, that they probably make a seventh one. But
it's in the Constitution. You have to.
I swear to God, I thought this was Forza B-roll for a second, and I got nervous, but it's not.
Anybody who notices, I think you can just ignore them because they're going to notice. They're going to be like, "Those are fake tires." Anyway, it's like it's okay. So Next Level Racing, which makes those awesome cockpit chairs, posted a graphic on social media asking people what racing game they were most excited to play. They included F1 2020, Dirt 5, Automobilista 2, and GT7, which seems like a little like somebody goofed.
Whoops!
There was a bag on that one. That was like the standard GT Gran Turismo logo, and then a little 7 down in the corner, which isn't a logo attached to any real Gran Turismo game currently.
Mm-hmm. And that follows because 7 was after 6.
True. But of course, there was GT Sport in between. So I when this first happened, I thought maybe they were just referring to GT Sport as 7 and got it confused. But it was like very clearly a new logo sort of thing. So the internet started suddenly like, oh, maybe this is confirming GT7's coming for PS5 because like there's always been Gran Turismo on PlayStation consoles, especially toward launches. We've seen ones often. But no, then they told us that wasn't the case, and it was a fake logo. They seemingly made up, like it's unclear if they got it from the internet, they made it themselves, but their quote was, "Our team has recognized that a recent post by us using a logo has been misinterpreted by media, and it does not reflect any information from our end, and we deny knowing any information regarding the launch of Gran Turismo 7. There have been assumptions made in the media that are quite simply untrue. Due to this post, we have decided to take down our previous social post." Or due to this, we have decided. But They put up the logo in the first place.
Man, I mean, I think it's
confirmed.
Yeah, it goes without saying. They're gonna have Gran Turismo 7 anyway. So, I mean, even if this was a legitimate goof, I think it's a pretty safe bet to make that we're gonna have Gran Turismo sometime around launch of the PlayStation 5. And I, for one, am very excited because I love the Gran Turismo series and the Forza series, spreading the love around.
Do you
Car
play
games are
the Gran Turismo?
I haven't played Gran Turismo since a long time, but I've been playing the Forza because I just never got. I never had a PlayStation 3, and then I didn't get Sport for PlayStation 4. But yeah, when Gran Turismo 1, Gran Turismo 2, 3, those were I spent a lot of time playing those on PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, like just unbelievable amounts of time, and I actually still have them over there somewhere. So if I want to play them anytime, I just pull the 300-pound TV out of the basement, and it's a good time for everybody.
What's your favorite racing game ever? You have to pick one.
My favorite racing game ever? Ooh, man, I'm gonna get some hate for saying the original Ridge Racer was the first racing game that I ever played that made me realize I really like racing games. Now, granted, that is an arcade racer, not a sim racer. If I were going to pick my favorite sim racer, it's probably the most recent Forza, actually. No, because that's not true either. Just don't listen to me.
That's also an arcade racer, isn't it?
Yeah, Forza Horizon is. The Forza mainline series are sim, more closer to Gran Turismo, which is extremely simmy, which I didn't know that I liked until I was adjusting, the ground effects to get the perfect amount of drift.
Does anybody else have a favorite racing game? Dorno, do you have a pick? Or are you not really
Crash
into them?
Team Racing.
Of course.
I know. I've never gotten into sim racing. I'm much more of an arcade racer guy, but I've always respected how pretty GT and now Forza have been over the last generation or two. Like, it's crazy how realistic they're getting at this.
Ooh, Forty in chat pointed out San Francisco Rush. We have that in our office.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's a good call, man.
San Francisco Rush on N64 is the most wonderfully broken game where there's an entire meta game if you're playing against other people where if you explode your car at the right point, it'll respawn you ahead of them. So there's this weird. There's this again. It's this wonderful. If you get really into it, you learn how to time it right. It'll blow your car up, and it's horrible, crappy animation, and then it'll just take you, and you'll be flashing transparent. It'll just fly you across the city, and then plop you down, and you'll be like, you're in first place, and it's like that's a bad game. Really fun. Love that game.
My favorite is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, the second game that was released in the Need for Speed series, because it's the first game I modded. I figured out a way to mod that game, and you could increase your car's weight, velocity, and you know what that meant? It meant when the cops came chasing you, you hit them, but you had 20, 40 times the weight, so they would literally just go flying into the air, and it was the funnest time I ever had in Need for Speed, for sure.
That sounds great. I love that kind of stuff. I got really into Forza Horizon, actually. I just space out and play that sometimes. But what I love about that is the customization scene there is insane.
Oh yeah,
I have the worst car. It is it's like a Subaru Impreza that is pink, flesh colored pink, and it's covered in. It's covered in decals of Peppa Pig because somebody, actually, numerous people made really detailed Peppa Pig graphics. And so I just covered my car with Peppa Pig. And I think it says in a really tacky font, it just says hog piss on the side. So I just take this bad car and I just drive around England and break all the little stone walls and do jumps and fight the hovercraft. It's great.
Yeah, I spent many hours making a skin that was Louis Vuitton print, and it was picture perfect. And then I slapped it on there, and I went to play, and it said, "This is copyright protected material. Start over again." It knew that was Louis Vuitton, which I guess is a testament to my design skills. But yeah, I was trying to drive a bootleg, I don't even know, Cutlass probably.
what did they think people are gonna like? Do they think people are gonna try to sell it in the game or something? Like you're trying to do virtual bootleg cars?
Like, wow, that's a real Louis Vuitton car. Where can I buy one of those in real life? And then they go and they get sad.
I got to give an honorable shout out to Burnout. Nobody said Burnout, so
Burnout's phenomenal.
Ooh, yeah.
All right,
yeah. Forgot about Burnout for a second.
Burnout 3.
Yeah,
is just
Take
too
down,
good.
Yeah.
So I never played Burnout. I never got into the Burnout
Oh,
games.
dude. Crash mode, but
man.
you have to play Burnout 3.
I know that's what everyone says,
Yeah.
but I'm a simpleton, and I am a major fan of MotorStorm Pacific Rift, which is I'm told is sort of like it's kind of like a Burnout, like they kind of copied some stuff, right? Or it's like it borrowed some. It's the PS3 Burnout, maybe. I don't know. I never played Burnout. I can't speak to that, but it's. That's a game where if the cars go too fast, they explode, but you can cool them down by driving through an icy river. But if they drive on lava, they get hot again and they might blow up.
Yep.
I like that one too. We're running out of time, and I could talk cars with you guys all day, but maybe we should move on to the next one, Max.
Sure. So Iron Man VR is coming out. It's around the corner. When is that's coming out? July 3rd.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I remember that? I remembered that. Yeah.
Yep.
I only look
Nailed
like
it.
an idiot. I remember some important things. But yeah, there is a VR demo out today for PlayStation VR, and they announced that there's going to be a PSVR demo PSVR bundle that includes the game, headset, move controllers, camera, and a demo disc for PSVR. So you can also play the scary shark attack demo and the one where
so good,
stealing a ruby. So $349. Yeah, like Jonathan, we've both played this. What do you think? What do you think, Iron Man VR?
It was about a year ago, so like they've obviously had a lot of time. I liked it. Like it was. I will say it takes a little while to get into it for me because the flight controls are not the easiest gameplay mechanic. Like it does require you to kind of get the hang of it. But once you do. I played 2 of the missions that are in the demo, and once I got to the end of the second mission, like I felt like I was actually getting pretty good at being able to, like stop short with one repulsor blast, robots that are flying at me with the other hand, or like use both to immediately push myself down. Like there's actually a lot of freedom in terms of using both hands to affect your speed, how you're dealing with enemies. It's definitely something that like. If I had played for 5 minutes and then put it down, I'd be like, oh, that wasn't that great. Like it didn't really capture what I would have wanted. But I think spending like a good half hour with it, at least I started to really appreciate it and really like it.
Is it? I tend to get pretty motion sick on flying games in VR. Is that something I need to watch out for?
Ooh, probably because it's pretty open spaces that you're. I don't get motion sick that often, so the first minute or two when I first lifted off was a little bit jarring because you do have to really think about your head being, Iron Man's face in that situation. But after that, at least I adjusted pretty well. And this one has really good 360 mobility. Like they're doing a lot to be able to make sure no matter what direction you're looking in, it will be tracking you correctly. Like there were times where I was completely facing away from the PlayStation camera, and there was no hitching, there were no mess ups with it or anything. Like it kept me pretty much exactly where I was supposed to be. So it's pushing the PSVR tech, which admittedly is pretty old stuff, but it's pushing it pretty far. So I'm really excited to see more of what they're doing.
That's something that I think is very promising about this, because it is dedicated, like this is like proprietary PSVR development. Like this isn't a game that they made for Oculus and ported over. Playing games that were developed for other VR headsets and have since been ported to PSVR, I definitely feel there's that feeling of like this isn't the best version of this. Like occasionally it just feels like clunkier than it should be. But in this case, like this is Sony published. I think it could be. I played the demo a year ago or whenever the hell that was. And I was into it, but it does take you a minute to get used to it, which is why releasing a demo is actually really smart, because that means when the game actually comes out, you can just kind of jump into it and actually have your sea legs, so to speak.
Yeah, and we had talked about this on Podcast Beyond, but like this game really does need, I think, most VR games need a demo to really convince you why you would want to invest in this. And so at a time where they can't do in-person demo kiosks, it's at least good that anyone who has a PSVR can try this demo to see if this is for them, which is...
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
I
I'm gonna
can't
be
help
trying
but
this one
feel.
out after the show.
Do you have a PSVR, Seth?
Oh hell yeah, I love my PSVR.
I
I
didn't
think
know
it's
that.
awesome.
What's your favorite game on there?
If you don't
My
say
favorite
Beat Saber,
game-
I'm going to be mad.
I love Beat Saber, but the tracking on the move controllers isn't that great, so I end up missing a lot. And I know that it's the tracking and not me because I have phenomenal rhythm. Like check this out. Check this out. But Super Hot, also an amazingly fun game. But I think the first time I put it on, and the X-wing section in Star Wars Battlefront, is it 2 that has that VR like 30-minute VR mission?
That was that was standalone. That's just like a free.
Oh, it's well, whatever. That X-wing,
Yeah.
was when I first put that on. I looked down and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like in the cockpit. I can see my spaceman legs, and I felt disgustingly sick the entire time. But it made me feel the same way I felt like the first time I played Super Mario and the first time I played Super Mario 64. Like it was a sea change moment. I smiled the whole entire time. I got done with the mission and I went and drank some cold gingered ale.
Nice. That was the first thing I installed and downloaded and did when I got my PSVR. My wife gave it to me for Christmas, and I was like so excited. And I went and like opened it up like a little kid, and then I was just like,
my kids love the PSVR. Like they play some weird game like Rec Room or something, or it's just a bunch of other kids like swearing at each other.
Dude, Rec Room is so weird. I like went on there to just kind of poke around, and I wound up like befriending a child, and like, and he was like, he's like, come on, let's go make a restaurant. And I was like, what do you want? And I was just like messing around. I was like, I kept like taking like I'd make like a giant cylinder, and I'd be like, we're gonna sell big hot dogs at this restaurant. He's like, quit messing around. We got to get tables ready. We're opening the restaurant.
It's amazing. It's like a digital version of the McDonald's Funland, but like you can conjure guns.
It's so weird. It totally feels like a Never Never Land, where like it's a bunch of children hanging out in a virtual space, and like I felt like a total cop being there, like more than I do normally.
My youngest son uses my account, and like the PlayStation gives you your report every year of your most played game, and my most played game on my account was Rec Room for PSVR, just because like he is on there all the time. He loves it so much. It's a good time to be a kid, weird. Man, especially if you're into games.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I can't speak if it's a good time to be a kid. I have no idea. I don't know anymore.
Remember all the stuff that you like imagined about the future when you were a kid? That stuff is real now. So it's
you have
awesome.
to use your hands. It's like a baby's toy.
I just watched that movie. It's on Netflix. It's so good.
It's so good.
All three of them. Check them
out. So anyway, before we go, we're winding things down here, but Valorant is available on June 2nd. Riot Games has announced that it will be launching free-to-play, coming out of beta. It had a month-long closed beta, and everyone was talking about how hard it was to aim at things, but the official launch will reset player accounts for anyone who's participating in the closed beta. This is the 5v5 tactical shooter with light hero elements. Players have described it as a mix of Valve's Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Blizzard's Overwatch. Destin, have you messed with this?
PR release. Yeah, I actually played a bunch of Valorant. This is some alpha footage from a trailer that we pulled for B-roll. It's really, really interesting. It's good. I think initially it was really, really hard to convey what was so special about it through video footage. But as more people started getting into the beta, they sort of got it. It's one of those games, easy to get into, hard to master, and it has a high skill ceiling. So like pro players can really, really dive into the mechanics. But I have a love-hate relationship with this game. It's either like the best game I've ever played or I absolutely hate it. And that's usually contextualized by how well or how poorly I'm doing. So if I'm having a really bad game, it's the worst game I've ever played. And having a real good game,
checks out.
Yeah. You guys have probably heard me yelling at my desk from this stuff in the past.
Yeah, I have from over here in Maine.
And yeah, I don't know. I think people sort of came around on Valorant. I think it's not going anywhere. It definitely has an audience, and I'm gonna be excited to see how it continues to grow going forward. I don't think the release date's that big of a deal. I think the new hero was the bigger news, honestly, for the Valorant franchise. because I believe they said there is a new hero, but I don't think we know anything else. The video of their announcement is just two people sitting there saying it's coming out June 2nd. Of course,
That's how all videos are from here on out.
Well, I mean, it's like a 5-minute long video where they just kind of recap everything that happened, and then the big reveal is that full release on the 2nd. So tons of people are going to get in, crash those servers, and yeah.
I love I can obviously see the comparison between CS:GO and Overwatch, but I love the weird like pairing of like pretty realistic guns and then this almost like Disney-esque like animation of like weird like cloud walls and stuff, whatever the hell that is, that delicious sherbet looking stuff.
I don't remember the specific name of it, but what's happening there is they're putting up a cloud wall so the opponents can't see through it. I think that's probably pretty obvious. But then they ping them with the archer's ability to sort of showcase where enemies are, and then you can shoot them through that cloud wall. And the ability pairing and just the way they just really, really managed to balance all the characters in such a good way. And the gunplay actually really, really rewards you for like headshots or walking instead of running. So a lot of people made the comparison to CS:GO, and that's why I say like it has a super high skill ceiling. Like I'll never be able to do what pro players do. You move faster when you take out your knife. Just all the mechanics, they kept it simple. They made sure that things were seemingly balanced as they could be. Of course, I think a lot of people thought Raze was a little too strong. But yeah, I'm excited to see more people get in and see where the game ends up landing after launch.
You mean to tell me that Riot Games... Go ahead.
What was that? No, I was just sorry for rambling so long about Valorant.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You know about Valorant. Go for it,
Yeah, man.
I was going to say like I can't believe that Riot went and made a hardcore game. I would have thought that they would just make another accessible casual thing for people who love to have the easy way out. No, this is obviously like totally ripe for esports. I think it's cool that their whole thing is League of Legends, right? That's Riot, correct? I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to accidentally say the wrong thing and then be quoted for eternity. But no, like they have like a very strong relationship with having a active, incredibly hardcore community with a game that is extremely competitive. And then it's kind of cool to see them be like, all right, let's do that with shooters. Like let's shake it up. Let's try a new thing. So
yeah, and the interesting thing is this is a really, really good test case for their next property, which is going to be a fighting game. That's correct, right? That's Riot, right?
That's when they announced a few games when they first teased there was a fighting game coming up.
Yeah, so they're ramping up production on whatever their fighting game is going to be, and if they manage to sort of nail that sweet spot with a shooter, I'll be interested to see what their fighting game is. But like, you got some big shoes to fill there. You really, really got to wow people when you got something like Mortal Kombat that just nails that fun yet skill need that a lot of fighting game players are looking for.
Now, when you play Valorant, do you ever encounter guys who just run around with knives and kill everybody that way? Because that's the mark of a good competitive first-person shooter, is the knife guy.
Well, you can get kills with the knife. You have to sort of like stab people in the back to get it, but I don't think anyone's running around with a knife like going on sprees or anything, because when you get hit, you actually slow down. So it's really situational. I have seen some good knife clips, though.
Man, that's cool. What I wanted to hear. Cool. Good knife clips. Box quote.
I love competitive video games because like you can have a game where you can have like the coolest, you can have like spells, and you can throw like magic color walls up, and there's still that guy who's like, yes, but I want to be the best with the knife, and it's like, okay, fine, just go play Pong.
Yeah. Max, we missed one story, but we have like a minute left, so just real quick, I'll just throw to it. Borderlands.
Okay.
Borderlands announced DLC, and there's some pictures.
All right. So I mean, it must Borderlands announced DLC. It must be a day of the week that ends in Y. What do you know? Like, I'm sorry. I've been. They love to announce DLC. They're always coming out with something where they're like, oh, it's the Necromancer is here. Oh, it's the new. There's a new vault.
Loot game continues to be good. And were you going to throw to something, Max? I have one.
Yeah, I was going to tease what is coming up next right after this. Today is actually the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back, one of the 7 things in life that I actually enjoy that makes me happy. And and to celebrate this wonderful thing, we are going to have a watch from home theater, which is going to be Clint Gage from Cinefex and Brian Altano, my good pal and fellow Star Wars enthusiast, as well as Sam Witwer, who has voiced numerous things in the Star Wars galaxy, and Rahul Kohli, who you might know from iZombie or from being a gigantic Star Wars nerd on various corners of social media. That man has a lot of Star Wars toys and things in his house, and I appreciate that about him. But they're going to be hanging out and watching the movie. I believe there are, if you don't have a copy of Empire kicking around somewhere, I think there's promo codes for a free trial of Disney Plus if you want to watch along. But they're going to kind of do a little warm-up thing in just a second and kick it off. But that is happening right now. We will be off tomorrow because the office is closed, and then Monday's a holiday, so we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll see you then. Have a wonderful weekend. We love you dearly. Good night.
Peace.